I'd like to take this time, a little homework. I'd like to thank the Village Church for this opportunity. They are bent over backwards for us, very community-oriented organization. I'd like to bring your attention to the restrooms are behind you. There's 2 exits. The one that's to my right, your left, is going to be where the restrooms are. I would ask you, please, at this time to put your cell phones, if you would, on vibrate or turn them off. And we will, the way it's going to work tonight, it's starting at 7 o'clock, we're going to do introductions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and the questions will start shortly thereafter. They will have 1 minute to respond, and our timekeeper will give them a flash at 45 seconds, at which time they will wrap up. And there will be a chance at the break, like I mentioned, to submit other questions. We have a 10-minute break at 8 o'clock, and they will be, you can do questions and submit them at that time as well. Again, I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank our 7 candidates for their interest in our city. And without further ado, I think we will start with introductions. And we're going to start at, I'm not even going to tell them who they are, at the far right, your left. Go ahead. Whoever you are.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh Powell. I'd like to thank Terry for this and all the neighborhood associations for putting this on for us tonight. I'd also like to thank the Village Church for letting us have their building. Thank you, it's a beautiful building. I'd also like to thank you guys for coming out here tonight to see us speak, because you guys are concerned about this community. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. 6 weeks ago, I got married to my wife, Emily. We got married down in Noonan, and we have been together for 10 years. We met at Georgia College in Milledgeville. I'm a special ed teacher, and she works for Delta. In 2010, when she got the job for Delta, we bought a house on Myrtle Street. This house we bought, we renovated it ourselves. I figured out how to do everything on YouTube. With this house, I fell in love with this city. I see the potential that we have here. There is such potential, and we just have to make sure that everybody else knows about this city, and they can see that the potential that we have. When I decided to run for city council, I decided because I set goals for myself. And when I set a goal for myself, I go 100% towards a goal until I master that goal. Just like when we set goals for our city, I will go after that goal that we set together. I will go after that goal 100% until we master that goal and meet it. I like to change the progress. I like to see the progress forward. I'd also like to see keep this same hometown feel that we have, and that brought me here from moving to Delta, and also keeping you guys here. Perception. We need to change the perception of Hapeville. When I decided I'd move to Hapeville, I was telling my friends and family that we were moving to Hapeville, and they had no idea where it was, and they looked like I had a third eye when I told them I was moving to Hapeville. They have no idea where we are, so that's what we need to do. Thank you.
Well, my name's Jimmy Lovern, and I have been a resident of Hapeville my whole life. I am currently the councilman for Ward 1. I grew up in Hapeville. I went to Josephine Wells Elementary School. I graduated from Hapeville High School. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Public and Urban Affairs from Georgia State University. I have a wife who is working now. She was working with the CDC. She's a program analyst, and they went back to work today, which was good. My daughter graduated from Georgia State this past summer with a master's in education, and she got married in May, and my son is a senior at Georgia State with a dual degree in computer science and marketing. I am the music director at Hapeville First Baptist Church. I lead the adult choir and the kids choir on Wednesday nights and lead the music on Sundays. I run a warehouse for ADT Security in Marietta. I worked for RGIS, which is the world's largest inventory company, for 20 years as a district manager until they downsized Atlanta and now I'm working with ADT. I am a 16-year member of the Sons of the American Legion. This year I'm the junior vice and the chaplain of Post 51. That organization sponsored the baseball team that I coached for 4 years and gave us money all 4 years and never asked me to join. And I got pretty excited when I started finding an organization that cared a lot about kids and was willing to give money to kids and really didn't expect anything back. So I joined that organization, and I've been with them for a long time. I have been coaching youth sports in Hapeville for over 20 years. I started when my daughter was in T-ball, and I have been working with the athletic programs down there for the last 20 years. And I'd appreciate your vote, and thank you very much.
All right, good evening. My name is Peggy Bryden Hardy. I'm married to Jeremy Hardy, and we have a beautiful daughter, Lily Grace, who's 9 months old. My parents are Sharon and Charlie Bryden, and I have one sister, Carol. I graduated from Landmark Christian School and then went on to Mercer University, where I received my bachelor's in education. After that, I went to the University of Alabama, where I received my master's degree. I then went on and taught elementary school and middle school in Henry County for 4 years. After that, I've most recently taught at Woodward Academy for a year. I currently am a stay-at-home mom, which I am very grateful that I have the opportunity to raise my daughter. I also substitute teach at Woodward 1 day a week, as well as I am an assistant varsity coach for the girls' swim team. I'm really excited to be running for council because I love the city and I'm very passionate for it. I feel very fortunate to say that I was raised in the beautiful city of Hapeville. It's so wonderful to have been raised in a small town with so much charm. From ages 4 to 18, I played t-ball, softball for Hapeville and really enjoyed that. I was a Girl Scout, sang in the Hapeville First Baptist Church choir, and played in the handbell choir. I'm still involved in those organizations today. My husband coaches Hapeville baseball, and I'm involved with that. I sing in the Hapeville First Baptist Church choir every Sunday. I'm involved in Hapeville First Baptist in numerous ways. I've served on numerous boards and been a chair of 3 boards at Hapeville First Baptist Church. I'm currently a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Colonial Dames, the Georgia Association of Professional Educators, the Georgia High School Coaches Association, American Legion Auxiliary. I'm a Fellowship of Christian Athletes sponsor and a Calvary Refuge volunteer. If elected to City Council, I'll commit myself to being a servant leader, and I appreciate your vote.
I'm reminded of a scene from one of my favorite movies. Inspector Clouseau is checking in his trench coat, hat, gloves, full mustache. He's got his room key and is walking across the lobby. He stops before a small dog curled up, gazing up at him soulfully. He smiles. Turning back, he asks, "Does your dog bite?" "No," he's told. "Nice doggy," he says, and reaches down to pet the dog. "Row, row!" He takes a tremendous bite on the hand, shakes the little dog off, and glares back at the innkeeper. "I thought you said your dog did not bite." The innkeeper says, "That is not my dog." So, just to be sure now, with the time I've got left, I don't leave anything out. I'm probably going to read the rest of it. Thank you. I'm Scott Whitaker, Hapeville native born, 1959. I'm a founding member with my father, Robert, of St. Michael's Church in Stone Mountain. I'm an ebook publisher, graphic designer, author, computer repairman, member of Hapeville Citizens on Patrol, Development Authority, and the Economic Development Task Force. I'm married to the lovely and talented Joy Whitaker. We have 7 children, 17 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. We're members of AARP and Sierra Club, have been attending city meetings together for the past 8 years, and we want Hapeville to continue becoming an arts destination. Thank you.
Wow, a minute and a half and you told a story. That was good. Yeah, sufficiency. Understanding the process, if that would be the title, what I want to say. I think that everybody up here is quite gifted and talented and all are passionate about what they do. There's no doubt about it. I guess what I'd like to think is there's a reason that I'm running. What would separate me from maybe those that are running against me? And I think that when I look at this, I think of, well, I was raised here in Hapeville too. My father was a councilman also. I went to the schools here, class president, senior year, all these things. But does that really qualify me to be a council person? I'm not sure that's enough. But about 25 years ago, Don Scott from the Scott Antique Market called me up. He said, Michael, I just bought the Richway building on Jonesboro Road. Can you transform it into an exposition center? I said, yes, sir, I can, and we did. Then 22 years ago, when Alan Poole moved into his extravagant two-story building next door to the cafe at the corner, I wanted to rent that space and transform what was a bank built in the 40s into a restaurant, which it had never been. It still is going, and so we transformed that from conception to completion. Then after that was a bed and breakfast. Had the house behind the cafe. It was a single-story house at the time. Now it's 2.5 stories, and it's a bed and breakfast. After that, the Backstreet Alley Market was just a storage building for Laura, but it's beautifully done for all kinds of things that I think will happen in the future. And then lastly, the Village Church. This being a car dealership was quite an undertaking to transform it into what you see. But that's what I do. But I know you're not electing a developer. But if you have a council person that understands the process from conception to completion, then I think you've got somebody that's going to bring something to the table. God bless you.
Good evening. And I echo everybody's thanks for having this, for you to be here first and for the facility that we're getting to use. My name is Lou Valero. I'm currently Councilman Ward 2, City of Hapeville. There's some cards on my table back there that tells you a little bit about me, where I live, and all that kind of stuff, and where I've been. Tonight, though, I plan to use my time to tell you where the city's been and a little bit about where we're at right now. At the last election cycle, our city finances were just starting to improve just a little bit. We weren't rich, but they were a little bit better. But the economy was in a real funk. There was no loans available to buy some of these great new houses we had sitting around here, and nobody wanted to start a business in that economy here or anyplace else. Well, the city couldn't do much about the funky economy, but we turned our attention to making the city look like a place that people would want to move into, would want to start a business when things got just a little bit better. Signs were installed at the expressway entrances and gardens planted. They were also installed and more gardens planted at the development entrances to the various Northwoods and the various places we have around here. The streetscape projects that had been on hold were opened up again, and thanks to some GDOT money, the Virginia Avenue streetscape was finished, which was quite an accomplishment that took many years. Our buildings like the Scout Hut were renovated and are now a point of pride and hopefully some revenue one day. We made some zoning changes over to protect the former Ford property. And now we have an international automotive North American home headquarters coming out of the ground over there. And our latest point of pride is the Academy Theater, which is moving into downtown Hapeville to light it up and make it alive again. I would be proud to work for and with you to keep these things going, and I hope to see you on November 5th, and thank you very much. And there it is.
All right. Let me add my thanks, as everyone has, to the church, to most of all, you all who have come out on a rainy, spotty rainy evening. And I want to also first let you know I have the greatest respect and regard for all of you here, but I also have some titanium knees that are not in the best condition. So I will probably sit until the final comments, but I do respect you, and I am so glad you are here. I'm Diane Dimmick. And I think at this point in the campaign, you probably already know who I am and how long my family has been here, or you just know me and my family. But for these 2 minutes that I have, I'd like to tell you why you should vote for me as your representative from council from Ward 2. I am an optimistic leader guided by integrity expertise, and a vision of a vibrant, prosperous Hapeville. With your participation, we will become a destination for the right businesses and families who want a small community with big amenities. I believe in an inclusive government that serves and invests in the right kind of economic growth. I am a leader who knows from experience that Hapeville's government serves its citizens and its businesses, and that your voices are expected, wise, and welcomed. I retired from the city of Hapeville after 8 years in their financial services area. You may know me around town as a happy person, always with a smile on my face. But do not confuse my cheerful disposition with not being serious about the challenges that we know we must address to create the future we all want. To address these challenges, I bring Hapeville-specific professional experience, knowledge, and a belief in a rigorous financial controls and accountability. Thank you very much. I'll finish that on the closing.
Thank you, candidates. I do believe we've got a pretty good overview of the 7 people that are in front of us. And moving right along, we're going to continue now. And I'm going to pull questions out of the hat that have been submitted by the citizens. Each candidate, starting with Josh at the end, will have 1 minute to address the issue and move right on down the line. When we get to the second question, we're going to start with Mr. Lovern and come down that way. Third question, Peggy, and on through. Okay? Question number 1. The change of underpass at Sunset and North Central under the railroad, I don't see a question there, but does anybody want to comment on that? Change of underpass at Sunset and North Central. I don't know what that is. Does anybody want to comment on that?
That is something that was discussed at one time about having an underpass go under the railroad to where Force is the entrance way, but the setback that would need because of the angle is such that it would take over a lot of the property where the gas station and Wendy's are. So I don't know that that's something that's going to be feasible.
Does anybody else want to Lou? No, not time.
Are you sure it doesn't say underpants?
Very good.
That underpass is owned by the Georgia Department of Transportation, and all we can do, we can clean it up. We've been cutting the grass and things there, and we intend to keep on doing that. But that's all we can do with it.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with Josh now. The question I have in front of me is, why don't we have a term limit for council people? Josh?
I actually believe in term limits, both for the local government and for the federal government. Once you've been here for a while, it's time to get new shoes in, new ideas, more passion. Like myself, I am very passionate for Hapeville, and I have this drive and to move this city forward. I believe that term limits are good, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Mr. Lovern? The question again, why don't we have term limits for council people?
Well, the main reason we don't have them is we haven't voted for them. That's something that we could bring up if that is something that the people are passionate about. There are not term limits for our senators. There's not term limits for the House of Representatives, and there's not term limits for our mayor or our council. But, of course, that is something that's open to discussion at any time.
Peggy?
Well, I guess the question should kind of be phrased, do we believe personally in term limits? And I think term limits are good because you do get a fresh set of eyes. It is great, though, to have knowledge on council of previous projects. You don't want it continuously turning over because you want people to have background information and background knowledge of ongoing projects and things that are happening. But bringing in new blood and new ideas, I think, is always a great aspect that you need to add to any council in any form of government. So I personally do believe in term limits.
No, the same reason we don't have term limits for council people is the same reason we don't have any limits on how many signs you can put up. Like I say, no one's seen fit to pass anything on that. Personally, 20 signs is all I've got. That's all you're going to see.
Well, I guess the other question that's not being asked is how many terms? Maybe Alan Hallman should tell us. No, I think all of us in one sense think term limits are always good because you need a change, but I also believe that having overlap and having experience, that's always good too. I think 4 would be plenty, but you know, from me, I promise you 1 would be about all I think I could take. So you don't have to worry about me bothering you for years to come, but I'd be very pleased to serve you for 4 years. Thank you.
I'm of the opinion that we do have term limits every 2 years. You have a group of people sitting up here at a table like this saying, if you don't like me, throw me out. But there is something to say about corporate memory. If you've been around for a while, like I have been around for a while, Alan has been around for a while, and Jimmy's only been here for 4 years. But you try not to make the same mistakes twice. Things that didn't work the first time, 8, 10 years later, somebody comes back and comes up with the same idea. So there's a little bit to say about corporate memory. And term limits, if you want term limits, all you have to do is come to the council. Enough people come to the council, I guarantee you it'll happen.
I think that the term limit question is a valid one, certainly more at a national level while we've experienced what we have over the last 16 days. But on the local level, we don't have big money in our back pockets, at least I don't. So I believe a term limit is very valid. I don't know the number of terms that it should be, but I think citizens, and if you are interested in perhaps running for council seat, you can go to the council meetings and you can go to the website and you can be active in understanding the issues without actually having to sit on the council. So I think that that's an important thing where the citizens buy into the running of our government, but I would approve of and maybe recommend term limits. Thank you.
Thank you for your responses. Next question. For those of us who are new to the area and there are signs posted everywhere, how do we know as voters which ward we are supposed to vote for? Does everybody understand the question?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lovren?
Well, the simple answer is you vote for everybody. In the city, we have 5 elected positions, and you will be voting on 3 of them at this election. Now, your representative is based on where you live. The maps will show you that from Dogwood over to the west and across the railroad tracks is Ward 1, and from over Dogwood this way, east, is Ward 2, and your councilman at large is just that, a councilman at large. They are over the whole city. So you're represented by 1 council person, or 2 if you count the council at large. Your alderman is also representative of you, and your mayor. So, but if you got a concern and you want to go to your council person, it's Ward 1 or 2. But you're going to be voting on everybody up here come the election time.
Peggy?
Go for it.
Well, good job. I think you pretty much answered that. Not sure what I can add. You know, if you have a question, I personally feel that all of our council and our mayor would definitely love to entertain your question. And I know you can go on the website and at least see who was running for the different positions. As far as me, I'm running for council person at large, and I can tell you that I have the time to commit. I want to be a servant leader among the community, and I want to be more involved than I am and continue to be involved. So I hope that if elected as council person at large, that everyone would feel comfortable talking to me. Thank you.
Scott, you don't need the question repeated by any chance, do you? I'm available.
Okay.
Actually, as has been stated, all the positions are at large. Anyone elected should be expected to be able to answer questions from all citizens in the city. Simple as that.
Michael?
I concur.
I won't be quite as brief as Michael, but the Ward 1 also includes everything south of the railroad tracks, by the way, just in case you happen to live over there and wonder which ward you're in. Ward 2, of course, is like Jimmy said, everything that is east of Dogwood, all the way to the city limits, and the rest of it is all Ward 1. But it is, you vote for everybody. It don't make any difference where we live. If you have a problem and you happen to live on the other side of Dogwood and you call me, you're going to get the same response as if you call Jimmy or whoever happens to be in the other seat. So it goes way back. We've always had, every officer is run citywide.
What they said, the only distinction that I will make is that it's the residency of the candidate that is the only designation of the Ward 1 or Ward 2, as everybody does vote for everybody. One vote for Ward 1, one vote for Ward 2, and one vote for at-large. So you'll be voting for 3 people. And I'd appreciate your vote for me.
Josh?
There's not much else to say. The rest of these fine folks have pretty much said it all. But I want to be here for you guys. I'm here. On the back of my cards as my cell phone number, my email address, and my Facebook. And I want to hear what you guys have issues with in the city, whether it's people speeding down your street or issues with water or anything like that. I want to know. If you guys don't tell me, I don't know what's going on. So I want to hear from you guys.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Over the past year, several homes in my neighborhood have been broken into and items stolen. After the initial contact when the break-ins occurred, no one has had any kind of an update from our police department. Do you support this lack of communication between the police department and our citizens? And if not, what would you do to change this policy? We start with Peggy.
Well, personally, I have the highest regard for our service departments. I think our police department and our fire department do a wonderful job. Knowing that they are less than 3 minutes from coming to my house in the event of an emergency, that, to me is extremely important. So personally, I have an alarm system. But, to those that don't, I think it's great to get to know your neighbors. I highly recommend, looking out for one another and making sure you're just aware of your surroundings. We do have a wonderful city, but let's be real. We are neighbors with South Atlanta, the world's busiest airport in Clayton County. So you just need to be smart when you are at your house and keep your doors locked. As far as communication, I think the citizen needs to make sure that they continue to approach the person in charge that they are trying to get communication from.
When a home in your neighborhood gets broken into, you do feel powerless. But in Hapeville, we do have other choices. You can join the Hapeville Citizens on Patrol. You can actually be part of and be in great communication with the police department on a regular basis. You could, and on top of that, there's one initiative that the police department, as well as the Citizens on Patrol, is trying to get instituted citywide, and that is to keep people to keep their porch lights on at night. It makes the neighborhood look safer, look warmer, look friendlier, and it actually is safer. So keep the lights on.
I agree with everything that they've said, but I think the question was about communication. We have a great police department. The Hapeville Citizens on Patrol needs to be promoted more. I was talking to some people today about what if we could fund more classes, because I know it's a burden on the police department, but what value it has if we could do it quarterly. But the communication issue can be addressed and it can be solved. There's no doubt about it. If something happens, we need to know, and you'd like a follow-up. That's only understandable. I know that there was a robbery a few doors down from our restaurant. I didn't know about it. I'm not blaming anybody. I don't look for blame. I look for solutions. And so communication, can we improve it? I hope so. Let's do it.
Yeah, I have personally been broken into twice since I've lived in Hapeville, and both times they never caught the people that broke in, but they did come back and report that they were going to close the case because they could find no further leads. And actually, the stuff I lost, a few $100s, some of it didn't belong to me, which made me kind of mad. But the police have a policy that well, all the reports are available. All you have to do is call and ask, and they will make any kind of report that they've got available to you. And if you really can't get any place over there, city council meeting or the work session is a great place to come and just ask the question. The chief of police is there just about every time, and I guarantee you, if you ask at the council, he's going to tell you what happened in your particular case.
I think communication is a huge issue in all aspects of the city. And there needs to be follow-up. I'm not sure if police department or public service, if there's something wrong with your water or garbage collection, and you have called City Hall or the police department, you need to have your issue addressed. I don't know, I'm like Michael, we need a solution for this, because I've heard from many, many people, nobody ever calls me back. I never hear. I send something on the email. You know, we have a place on our website where you can list issues, pothole or whatever on your street, and they never hear anything back. I think that is unacceptable. We're not that large, and our employees are not that busy. We need to work on communication. Thank you.
Josh?
Well, I believe that we're such a small town. We only have a few thousand people, only a few square miles. We do need to have better communication, and I don't think that's that hard to fix. All it is talking to the police officers or the detectives or the fire department or whoever it may be, and just let them know that we would also, during the process of investigating that crime or whatever happened, we need to have a follow-up with the citizen. It shouldn't be that big of an issue for us to change once you get on council, and it should be changed.
Well, we do have a city website that if you go on the website, you can get contact information for every councilman and every department head. And if something's going on with a department within the city that you're not happy with, go to the head of the department. Start there and see if you can get a remedy. If not, then come to the council, because we will bring it up in council meetings or during the work sessions when we have all of the department heads there. Every time that we get together, we have reports by department, and we get updates on what is going on. If there's an armed robbery or something, I usually am getting an email letting me know that this is going on. If somebody contacts you and wants to know this is what happened, this is what we're doing now, we don't have any leads, or we have a lead and we're following up on these leads. So if you need to communicate with somebody, start with the website, and that will give you the information to get a hold of anybody in the city that's that you need to talk to. And if not, then contact us.
Next question. What changes would you make to the existing retirement package for eligible retirees? Scott.
I was unaware that the retirement package for existing retirees needed changes. Quite honestly, I'll go ahead and say that. But that's why we've got competent people hired to look into this. If they need to be changes, if we need to shore it up, make sure that the payments are guaranteed, then certainly our accountant, bookkeepers need to do this. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not going to guess at things I don't know. That's why we pay people that do know. And if we don't like the results, then we need to hear what the problems are that these people are having. My mother worked for City Hall for over 20 years, and so she was part of that, but she never complained about anything. But I know things have changed for a lot of governments, school systems, everybody's had to look at how are we going to fund things? Because if there's only so much money, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. I'm not saying it has to be made here, but the pie is only so big, and we can't work like the national government and just print more money. We have to work within what we have, so if something else has to be sacrificed in order to do something more in another area, that's what we have to look at, and we need to look at the team that are already paid people to do this. So that's the only way I could answer that with this information.
We do have one of the more generous retirement programs in the Tri-City area or in South Fulton County, as far as I understand. We have made some changes, but they've been more changes to the insurance that people can buy, where we used to insure everybody. We found out we can't afford to do that anymore. We insure the employee and the spouse if the spouse is not working for somebody else. We've talked about maybe going from a defined benefit to a defined contribution program, but the fellow named Clark Weeks runs this thing for us. And he suggests that the defined benefits is what the people want, and we've managed to finance it so far. And as long as we can finance it, I don't think we're going to make too many changes to it.
Well, I are a retiree from the city of Hapeville. I do know this program, although the question addressed what would the current eligible people eligible for retirement would benefit from, or how we would change it. I think 6 years ago, when we changed the administration from Georgia Municipal to the Mass Mutual, we had discussed going to the defined contribution plan, which is an employee participates in that. They contribute something. It's usually matched by the employer. Well, of course, us employees like defined benefit. We don't have to put anything in. So that for future retirees may be a consideration, so that everyone who's in the plan now is in the old plan. But it might be a consideration for the future, is to go to the defined contribution. Thank you.
Josh?
Well, there are not many places around still that still have a pension. You know, I'm lucky enough to have one because I'm a school teacher. So I'm very lucky. And I believe our employees are very lucky because they still have a pension. Pensions have become a big issue with cities all around the country with unfunded liabilities and stuff like that. One of the things, we do hire somebody to do this, and we also hire auditors to check them out, to make sure that they're doing the things in our best interests for you as retirees, and also you as citizens, that we're protectors of your money.
Well, our city has hired a very good actuary in Clark Weeks, and he can start talking and spin your head in about 10 different directions in a heartbeat, explaining how the money works, and this is how much money you have to have. And we have worked very diligently in the last 4 years to keep the pension plan at the level that it's at now, to keep the insurance at the level that it's at now. While other cities are closing fire stations and furloughing people and laying people off, we've stayed fully staffed, and we have fully funded the pension. So right now, we're at probably the best point that we can be at in the financial situation we're in. And that's it. Thanks.
Well, I think with the recession, hopefully we are on the upswing from that, but it boils down to being fiscally responsible. And like they've said, we do have people who have a job, and we just need to make sure that through audits and just, keeping our books audited, that we are making the best decisions. We do value our employees. I know Hapeville does, and our retirees. So I think one of the things, along with being financially responsible, is to communicate with the retirees so they know if there's going to be a change, so it's not just sprung on them as a surprise. So again, that communication is probably key with the retirement plan.
Next question. Hapeville has Ward 1 and Ward 2, with all other seats being at large. Why are there two designated wards if everyone in the city votes for all seats? Do you feel all seats should either be at large, or that one voter living in Ward 1 vote for that seat and voters living in Ward 2 vote for that seat? And we will start with Michael.
Wow, to me, it almost becomes semantics. We're pretty small here. If you live in a ward and your ward council person, sure, that's who you're supposed to go through in terms of a chain of command or complaint or whatever you want to call it. But I bet in this town, if you happen to run into the mayor first or one of the other council people, they're going to be interested in what you have to say too. I mean, at one time there were more wards, but Hapeville has shrunk a little bit because of a couple of those runways. But to me, it doesn't seem to make much difference what we call the wards if we are responsive, no matter who we are, to whatever your needs are. We're just not that big, and everybody would be concerned about what you have. Once again, I guess if you lived there back when we were bigger, you were more in touch with that. But I think we're all pretty in touch with what's going on everywhere. Thank you.
There's actually a very good reason for Ward 1, Ward 2, and it used to be Ward 3. Ward 3, by the way, used to be everything south of the railroad tracks, which went like almost a mile out into the runways. So there was a lot of people living out there, and when the runways took it over, they quit that. Right now we have a situation, it's not a bad situation, but your Ward 1 council person, your council person at large, and your Ann Ray. What is she? Alderman. Thank you. They all live within about a block of each other in Ward 1. And the idea is to get people to, I live in Ward 2, so, and the mayor lives in Ward 2. So the main reason was to keep it sorted out so that you wouldn't get everybody just clumped up and get a little thing going.
And I guess the other way to put that is everybody on one side of the tracks wouldn't be the only one serving in the electorate. You would have representations from residents of the different areas of the city. So although, as has been stated, every council person and the mayor and alderman have great concern no matter who and where, what ward you're in.
This town is small enough where we don't really need wards. We're 2 square miles. And if you see me at Chick-fil-A eating dinner and you come up to me and you talk to me about your complaint and you're in Ward 2, I will still listen to you. It's not that I'm only going to be listening to people in Ward 1. We're here for you guys. If you have a question, concern, comment, let me know. If you're in Ward 1, Ward 2, I don't care where you are.
Well, if you're in Ward 2 and you want to come up to me and tell me how happy you are about the way everything's going, then I'll listen to that too. We are 2 square miles. We have 6,500 residents as of our last census. Do we need to break it down into Ward 1, Ward 2? Maybe, maybe not. But having representation from all around the city, just like we have neighborhood associations all around the city, you have different perspective depending on where you live. So it's been working this long. I don't see a reason to change, but know this, you have 5 people right now that are elected officials that when we go and look at a problem or an issue within the city, we're looking for the best possible result for every citizen and not just for the people who live in our neighborhood.
I like having the different wards. I don't think it is necessary, but it is nice to know that you have representation from all throughout the city. Me personally, if I meet you and I ask you where you live, it's not because I'm curious of what ward you live in. It's just because I'm curious of where you live, and it's Hapeville. I feel like I should know where you live, or I've seen you before. So me running for this at-large seat, I hope that everyone feels comfortable talking to me, asking me questions. Complaints, of course, you're going to have those as well. But having the different wards, I think the benefit there is you do get different ideas and different insights from people that live on opposite sides of the city.
Perhaps the ward system is outdated since, as we all know, it's a small enough city. As Jimmy said, there's 6,500 people here. 2,600 of them are registered voters. Last year, about 1,300 of them voted. And 4 years ago, when these 3 seats were open, I'm pretty sure the difference between winning and losing was about the difference between having 350 votes or having 300 votes. So you can split the pie even smaller if you want to, but the truth of it is we all answer to everybody.
Next question. How often are city ordinances reviewed and website updated? We're going to start with Lou.
We have ordinances that have probably been on the books for 30 years that have just been there. So we don't go back and just pull up an ordinance and say, look at it, unless we have a problem with it. There is a situation out here right now where we have an ordinance that says you can't have outside merchandise. And we found out here recently that that don't work in all cases. There's some people that have some outside merchandise that's required by the state law that it be outside merchandise. So we're going back and reviewing that ordinance. The website is, there's actually a program in the city hall right now where all the department heads and whoever they elect to be kind of a secretary is going through a program where the website should be updated almost weekly. And it's just to bring up whatever's happening in that one department. It's quite a process.
Communication. Pick up with the website update. It is amazing to me. We're just now having the training classes, and that website has been up and running for at least 6 years. One of my bugaboos is the fact that if you go to the website, you're looking for the information or who to talk to. Sometimes it's just not updated. I try to check city council minutes, and it's sometimes a month or 2 months before they're in the updated in the website. As far as the city ordinances, again, there is a place, it is a national organization that we subscribe to called MuniCode, MUNICODE.com. It has all of the codes and ordinances for our city listed in there. And it does have a place where you can see most recent ordinances, although I don't think that's been updated since 2011, since I just checked. I'll check again. Thank you.
Once again, in a town this size, we need to have better communication with you. It's 2 square miles, like I've been saying. And there's 6,000 of you. We need to have better communication. We work for you guys. There's also the law of unintended consequences. When they passed that ordinance about having outside commercial stuff out there, they did not think about the propane tank that's sitting out there at the gas station. This is something that was an oversight. No one would have thought about that. But once again, on city council, they're talking about changing that and having that fixed.
As most things with codes, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. If there's a problem with the code, then it comes up, and we have Bill Johnston, who does a real good job of researching what the neighbors are doing, what we should be doing. He comes up with recommendations for us. They go through Paul Cosner, who's our attorney, so that we make wise decisions based on what we are informed. So on the code issue, I think that if we have an issue or we end up with an issue on a code, then that's when we generally look at it and try to fix it. The website, Allie O'Brien updates her part of the website on a weekly basis. So there's a lot of information that changes weekly. There's parts of it that could stand to be updated a little more frequently.
I feel that reviewing an ordinance on an as-needed basis is probably the most useful way of time, because to go back and just review ordinances from 30 years ago probably would not be the best use of our council's time at the moment. But definitely review ordinances that citizens have concerns or business owners have concerns about. As far as the website, I feel the website needs to be updated even on a bi-weekly basis. There's so much going on. We have, the chili cook-off coming up. We have the Academy Theater program coming up. So citizens want to know those things. I know that I personally look on Facebook. I think Charlotte Rentz does a great job at updating Facebook. So that's a daily basis. Maybe if we could get our website updated on maybe even a bi-weekly basis, I think that would be beneficial.
I do agree with Jimmy. Bill Johnston is one of the most informed and intelligent employees this city has ever had. As far as our ordinances go, he is the one person in this town I would like to have in charge of looking at them and reviewing them, and he does periodically. But also, like we said, we're a small enough town where we can react to odd things like Josh mentioned, where we end up being the only town that might ticket a gas station for selling gas. So we can fix these things. As far as the website goes, it's a whole lot better than it used to be, but it can still get a lot better.
I think this is always a challenge for people. So riding down the street and seeing old yard sale signs. Well, I mean, we've got things that say they're not supposed to be there. In fact, our signs, which we've littered the city with, are supposed to be gone in 3 days after the election. I know you can't wait for that. But all these things, it just makes sense. You basically address things when they're problems. But I've talked to some people lately about something, and if you mention the word like a town meeting, it sounds more like a bitch session. Can I say that? I did. Anyway, I don't like those kind of things. I'm a solution-minded person. I think that there are some things, like I was talking to Frank Faulkner about, we're concerned about houses where there's landlords that don't live here and how they take care of it. I think there's some things that we could come up with and then pass through our legal and see if we can come up with some solutions. And so I say ditto to all the other stuff, but let's try something new to solve problems.
Next question. On our last utility bill, which we pay online, I noticed that effective next month, there will be a charge of $4.95 for the online service. Do you feel this is a fair charge for our citizens, and why was it implemented? We'll start with Diane.
The credit card is a wonderful, credit or debit card is a wonderful device that many people like to use. It's very convenient. We can do it online. The credit card issuers usually have the final say as to when you can add on a service charge to their to use their credit card. I think there was a lot of inquiry and research done on whether to do this. We pay a lot of money, several $1,000s a month in credit card discounts, the amount that the city pays to accept the credit card. So I think the $4.95, I'm not sure what the research that was done on that is, but I think there are other municipalities that do have a service charge. You can call in with your credit card, and I don't believe there is a service charge, or you can always come by and visit everybody at City Hall and drop it off. So, or a check, your own bank, direct pay. Thank you.
Well, I just paid my water bill, and I did not have a $4.95 charge on it, so I'm not exactly sure what this is about. But, you know, the service charges, I feel like that's what banks do, to take more money from you guys. If we need more money, we either need, once again, there's only so much money. There's a pie of money, and we got to pay our bills. We have to keep the services that we have that makes us unique. So if that's charging $5.95 or $4.95, what is that money going towards?
Well, what the money's going toward is the credit card company is charging us $4.95 as a convenience fee to take a credit card payment online. So what the city, in the financial shape that we've been in, felt like we couldn't take on all of those costs ourselves, and we're passing it along to the people who use those cards. Now, if you walk into City Hall and you pay with your credit card, you do not pay that convenience fee. This is for people who do not come in and want to pay online and use a credit card for the convenience of not having to come up to City Hall and not using a check, but you want to use your credit card. Then that fee is being passed along to the people who use that service.
I know from attending some of the council work sessions, I've heard them discuss the upcoming $4.95 charge, and I do think it's what the next step that they need to take, because if we are having to pay these credit card companies that amount of money, unfortunately, I think that we should have that charge online. I enjoy going up to City Hall. I know that's not an option for everyone, but it's nice that they do have the drive-through window now, so you do have that option as well as always mailing in your payment or physically walking it in as well. But as they've said, we do have a set budget and we have some wonderful services, wonderful amenities. I wouldn't want to take money from those to pay American Express. So I feel like charging this convenience fee, which I heard from a lot of the work sessions is very common now, is probably the step that we need to take.
The reason the city charges $4.95 to take your credit card payment is because that's the maximum amount allowable by law.
I hate those kind of fees. I avoid companies that use them. But obviously, if you want the water, I guess you need to do this. But I was thinking, if you call me, I'll do it for $2.95. I'll come pick up your... Maybe it was because my father was Jewish, but things like this drive me crazy. I don't think the city's making money off of us. I don't think they're cheating us, but I don't know if it's really exhausted in terms of resources. I'd like to think it is, but if there's anything to be done, I'd be jumping up down to do it. And I find that sometimes when I use some service within a company, it's $5, but if I just give them my bank information, there's no charge. So I'd still like to explore more options.
Actually, the amount that it costs the city to accept your credit card online is $4.67, not $4.95. But we charge you $4.95 because that's what all the surrounding communities charge. We look at this. A lot of people do like this is for payment online. If you pay online with your credit card, there's a lot of labor involved in getting this thing resolved at the end of the month. And we figured out what it was costing the city, and it comes up to like $40,000 a year. So if you want to dedicate your part of the $40,000 a year so that I can pay online with my credit card, well, I'd be proud to let you do it. But the $40,000 a year is a lot of money. We just had to get it back somehow. And you can go with bill pay, write a check, other ways. You don't have to pay $4.95.
Next question. If grant money is being used for the new park on Central and was used for Virginia Avenue, what would you do, if anything, to improve Central Avenue? specifically sidewalks. You want me to read that again? If grant money is being used for the new park on Central Avenue and was used for Virginia Avenue, what would you do, if anything, to improve Central Avenue? And they've got in parentheses sidewalks. You're up, Josh.
Well, I think Central Avenue is very important. This is our heart of our downtown. This is the part that we're trying to revitalize. It's looking great right now, and I think they've done a great job with what they've done. The sidewalks do need to be improved. The beautification needs to be improved. Walking down Virginia Avenue is very nice when I walk down to Delta Community. I love the new lights that they have put up, the sidewalks, the benches. It's beautiful. I would just love to have that downtown. The more grant money we get, the better it is, because it's less money coming out of your pocket.
Well, we have applied for grant money for Central Avenue and for Dogwood Avenue. Those are the next two streetscape projects that are up for our city. But unfortunately, streetscapes come along as fast as Virginia Avenue took how long? 5 years, 7 years, I think. It took 7 years before we got the money. So the money is coming. And the next project that we have is Central Avenue, and then Dogwood from Central Avenue up until North Avenue is the streetscape after that. So in the coming months and years, we will have streets looking more and more like Virginia Avenue. It's just we're waiting on the federal government.
I'm very excited about all the streetscape improvements, as I love to walk with my daughter and push the stroller, and so I love the new sidewalks because obviously they're a lot more fun than some of the older sidewalks. Myself, I'm a coupon cutter, so applying for grant money is very exciting to me, and there's a lot of different grants out there that we can apply for. I think that certain people have done an excellent job of attaining so many grants for the city. I feel like the beautification projects that we've done have been wonderful. I am past secretary of the Main Street Board and was involved on the promotions committee and was part of the beautiful butterfly project that you see downtown. And so I'm excited to, continue that project as well as the streetscape projects. And applying for grant money is definitely a way to go.
I'm just going to sit for this one. Okay, several things we can do. We can eliminate and upgrade blighted properties. We can work on having donated decorative street lights, pedestrian bridge improvements, facade grants. We need to reinstitute those as funds become available. We need to institute a curb appeal program for commercial properties, see if they can help improve the sidewalks. Sidewalk improvement or replacement, historic markers, more extensive gateway signage at either end of Central, not just there, but especially there. That's about it, other than maintain the historic sidewalk-oriented building setbacks for any new buildings. So we need to not only improve the sidewalks we got, but look out for the new ones.
Grants are a wonderful thing, but don't you kind of wonder if they're going to dry up? And we got a government that can't stay open. If we can get a grant, let's get them quick. Let's do it all we can. Because I'm telling you, walking along Central Avenue is treacherous if you're on North Central. Now, in front of the post office and that really good restaurant, Cafe at the Corner, they got a really nice, there's a great sidewalk there. It's very safe if you want to go there. And the post office and, of course, slideways. But if you come to this side, or even if you notice tonight, if you parked, of course, that's King Arnold, the first king of Hapeville. But these sidewalks are horrible. They're dangerous. And I wonder, get grants while we can. But at some point in time, we might have to get creative. And I love that. I like being creative. God bless you.
There was actually a plan in place, believe it or not. You remember there was a word that used to float around Washington called earmarks. And we had an earmark for almost $3 million that John Lewis had put out. Let's see, him or Ikeson, I don't know. One of them had put this out. and it got taken away because of the economy. But the GOT has come up and they said, okay, we'll give you back your 2.9 million, but you still have to go by all the rules and regulations. I don't know if you know what rules and regulations mean to the federal government, but we called in the environmental people and they said, we'll put this on the fast track for you. We have to do an environmental study of the railroad track. Now, I don't know what they plan to find underneath that railroad track. But it said, we'll put this on the fast track and we can get it done in 2 years. We have $2.9 million sitting out there waiting for things like environmental studies, and we have displays of what the railroad corridor will look like. We'll show them to you at one of the meetings.
I might have the unique opinion of grant money, because when I hear as if Virginia Avenue LCI was a $10 million project, it took about 10 years, and it was maybe an 80-20 match, meaning the federal government paid the $8 million and the city of Hapeville only had to pay the $2 million. But does anybody here not pay federal tax? There's no free money. I'm not all about taking every grant that comes down the pike. I think what would happen if we didn't have to do all of that hoop jumping to do the regulations and the environmental studies, and we just use that $2 million with our wonderful public service guys or whatever, and we could do our own projects without the federal tax dollars. To me, Virginia Avenue looks like a sixth runway. They put streetlights under streetlights, and they ripped up perfectly good sidewalks to put in brick pavers. Thank you.
Very good. I've got 7:55. Why don't we set up our break right now? It's set up for 8 o'clock, but I'd rather go ahead and get this going now. We'll take about a 13-minute break, at which time you feel free to submit some more questions. We will have the collection bowl out in the lobby, and we will resume at 8:10. Okay? Thank you.
Oh, that would look even better, wouldn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Is that harder with the camera?
The chairs don't move good. Yeah, the chairs don't move good on this carpet.
I hope that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, I know that's right. I hope we don't have to go on any more cameras.
Now, if that happened,
I hope this is it.
when I walk in the house, take shoes off. So,
Because after this, if you're on the camera, it means you've done something else.
negative, not gonna happen.
We are ready. As you see in your handout, we're going to conclude tonight at 9 o'clock. We had addressed the idea of possibly using 2 minutes per candidate, but I'm happy that we did only 1 minute. It does give us a little more time and get more questions. Well, obviously, we're not going to get to all the questions, and we knew that when we started. But we are going to cut off at 9 o'clock sharp, at which time you will have chances to mingle with the candidates. So here we go. If elected, this is going to be Josh. We're going to start from the first again. If elected, what steps will you take to assist code enforcement in tracking down the owners of abandoned houses to clean up the yards and make the property look better? Anybody needs me to repeat that, just let me know.
Well, a lot of these abandoned houses, we know who they belong to. A lot of them belong to the banks. They're the ones that aren't keeping up these properties. There are actually a lot of lawsuits right now suing the banks because they're refusing to clean up their properties. Also, some of the banks are just not doing anything to these properties. They're actually doing more work on the properties in North Atlanta than they are down here. We also need to work with code enforcement to help them because they have a hard time figuring out who owns these with the LLCs and that kind of thing. It takes a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work from us to help code enforcement find out who owns these LLCs, who do we bring to court, and who do we make clean up these properties?
Well, code enforcement is a legal proceeding. The best thing that we can do to influence these is to make sure that the time limits in between the 5 steps it takes to get to abatement are followed. We've got to contact the people who own the house. You can't necessarily go to the people who live there. So sending registered mail is something that they do. If it's a HUD home, you can't go after the federal government. If it's a bank, good luck going after them. But the absentee owners, if we can get information, if we can help track down those people and get the process started, each of the 5 steps have certain time limits that have to be adhered to, because you're going after a property owner or a homeowner and trying to enforce something on them. They've got to meet their obligations, and we are doing diligent work. Our code enforcement people are doing a lot of work. They're writing about 150 code violations a month.
Well, I do say that seeing the presence of code enforcement on my street a lot is assuring. My way to help is I would honestly gladly call some people if I had their information. I live on Lake Drive, and I hope that my street will be up and coming one day, but at the moment it's not. If I had to guess, there's about 90% renters. There were 3 registered voters on my street at the last election. So to me, we just need more owner-occupied homes. And in order to do that, we have to get in touch with these owners that are, leaving these properties delinquent. Now, how could I help in code enforcement? I honestly would be one of those people that would call. I have code enforcement's number on my phone, but I would call the owners of the houses if possible. I do think that cleaning up our neighborhoods is a big step that we need to take, and I would be happy to be a part of that.
A city is only as strong as its neighborhoods. While there are areas of a city where the housing stock is well maintained, obviously many areas suffer from disinvestment and even blight. Fortunately, Hapeville is well situated to take advantage of the surge in interest in in-town living. Hapeville's location inside I-285, along with historic housing stock, provides an opportunity for large-scale revitalization in the neighborhoods. However, redevelopment of the neighborhoods will take place only if potential residents feel confident that Hapeville is destined to transform into one of Atlanta's hot in-town communities. We're going to help with that transformation.
I wrote what I'm going to say, but that was good. How could I personally help code enforcement? Obviously, if they needed more people, that would be one way to do it, but of course, it's got to be within the budget. I don't think that renters are inherently evil. Some people are really good people that rent. I've rented before, and I don't think landlords are necessarily evil. You can be a landlord and do things right. I wish we could practice with our police and fire on some of these houses and burn them and get some rehearsals in, but I know we can't do that. But it sounds like they need more internet help for locating some of these people and more help. I mean, if you want me to say, well, how I would help, that'd be the only way you could help. This is also what I was talking with Franklin about today. A renter is a business person. If there was a way to make them check in with us to run that business, then I think we'd have better contact. Thank you.
I believe the question was, how are we going to help code enforcement? I have a list here of 21 cases that they're working right now. We only have 2 code enforcement people, and they not only do code enforcement, they do animal control, so they stay pretty busy. How are you going to help them? I don't know. I'm going to just give you a couple of the things that they, real fast. I'm not going to give you any names or addresses. A citation sent, certified mail, recipient notified, pending defense of trustee company, had the court date reset, rah, rah, rah. It goes on and on. Citation sent, certified mail, recipient notified, received is undelivered. Citation will be hand delivered to the owner. he's working on it. The owner is suspected deceased. Nobody can find out who owns the thing. These are the type of things they run into, and I don't know how you're going to help that unless you give them more help, another person in there to do the job.
All right. How to assist the code enforcement officers. I'm not sure I'm qualified. I know I'm not qualified to do that, but I do believe there are only 2 of them, but we do have a large police force. I think somebody said we are fully staffed, and many of them are detectives, but many of them are patrol officers. I would think that they would be capable of noting what they might consider as code violators and could make a note of that and give that to the code enforcement officers. I think one of the problems many of the neighbors and that I have and that people have just come up to me have is that no one gets back to me. No one gets back to me. That just is fingernails on a chalkboard when I hear no one gets back to me. I think that is inexcusable, and I will work diligently to see that that is not the case. Thank you.
Next question. Looks like a long one. Pride of our city is prevalent most everywhere. However, the exception area is in-city suites, which has quickly become a magnet for a dynamic of inhabitants that have no pride in anything. The dress code of choice is that of inner city slum. I entered this place once. It's dismal, dirty, and smelly. It doesn't belong in Hapeville. This place is disgusting and draws the likes of whom I would not choose to associate. These inhabitants wander our streets for lack of transportation and litter where they may with their beer cans in brown paper bags, dirty diapers, food wrappers, and fast food bags. The existence of this facility is a detriment to all the efforts set in motion thus far by our city council and the citizens of Hapeville. Hapeville has made great strides in improving this city, and as a result, has been awarded Main Street status for all of its efforts and initiatives. And we have to have this cesspool here. What intermediary tactic can be set forth to have this entitlement program reversed and the building itself leveled? Mr. Lovern.
Well, leveling private property is going to be something that's going to take some work. What we can do, we have the CID, the tax district, is coming to that part of the city. The top 50% of the owners that own 75% of the worth of the property will be paying an extra tax for the beautification of the entranceway to that part of our city. In-Town Suites is a large enough business that they're going to be dragged into the CID. So by them paying extra money, hopefully that will make them think twice. If we cut into their profit margins, if we keep our code enforcement ever vigilant on them, and we also had a stretch of about 30 feet of our sewer line collapsed behind there that we're going after them for $35,000. If we hit their pocket, maybe we can influence them to go somewhere else.
Now, I'm sure we all feel very similar about in-city suites. I myself am not comfortable categorizing everyone that lives in in-city suites in a certain way. People do need different housing areas, and personally, I would keep our code enforcement on in-city suites, make sure they're up to code. At the most recent council meetings I've been at, I feel like the CID is going to be a great asset, and by them sweeping in-city suites and it hurting in-city suites in the pocket, maybe they will make changes that would better influence Hapeville, and I think that having them have to keep their property up according to code. If we just stay on them with code enforcement, I think that obviously will help it look better. But again, I'm not comfortable categorizing all of in-city suites in that certain way. I do feel like we could make it look a lot better.
Yes, like Councilman Lovren said, it's difficult to remove an existing business and expensive. Look at Airport View. That was deemed to be actually a public hazard. We removed it, but we have a large bill on that piece of property now. It's an empty lot, but we have basically we owe the better part of $1 million for the demolition there. So there's some problems we have to treat how we can and how we can afford to treat them. Code enforcement, as everyone else has said, is the answer.
I definitely agree with Peggy. I mean, we have people that come to this church that live there. We have people that live under the bridge next to it that come to this church. I just can't throw people away. Is it a problem for the community? Yes, I understand that. You know, I don't know as much about the CID. I know about the KGB because I go to Russia. But we can't just tear down a building. That's obvious. Enforce what's on the books? Sure, but do we want to just harass one place? I like to see uniform code enforcement and not just targeted. But that certainly is a problem that should be addressed, but I don't think it should be singled out. There's other places that need attention as well. And if they can get them to join in and do something financially that would raise their standards, then of course we'd all be for that.
KGB, I like that. In-town suites is unique. There's a thing called fair housing standards that we have to abide by, and people have a right, whether we like them or not, whether they are dynamic individuals or whatever they are. They have a right to live where they want to, and we can't do a thing about it because the federal government comes in and says, leave them alone. We actually went, went many years ago. This is some of that corporate memory. We went to the federal government complaining about it, and they said, you back off or we're going to shut you down. And we can do fire protection, we can do code enforcement, we can make sure that they're safe, but we cannot shut them down.
I think Lou summed it up. Vigilant code enforcement, keeping them up to fire code standards. I think that's what you need to do. I don't know what the CID is either. I don't know KGB. I know MOUSE. But we do, and there might be some MOUSEs in the in-town suite. So that would be up to code to find that out. But it is a code enforcement thing to make sure, and fire, that they are up to standard so it is not a hazard to the people who are living there, whoever they may be.
I believe that everybody needs a place to live. Some people are down on their luck, and they just need a place to live. And In-City Suites provides that. But we also need to work with the owner of In-City Suites to let him know that we are concerned with his building. He needs to get it up to code. And that's another thing that we can do, is we can talk about city ordinances. Maybe we could bring in a few city ordinances that will help with In-City Suites. One thing in particular is closing those windows that do not have screens, that are open in the middle of storms, and that are very hazardous for the people that live in there. Children fall out of windows all the time. That's something that we need to change, and that's something that we can change.
Next question. Why can't our water deposit be returned after paying in good faith for a year, since we are owners and not renters? Peggy.
Well, that's a good question, and I do not have an answer for you. I think that would be a great question to address at a council meeting. Those are times where any citizen can have their thoughts and questions heard. So I encourage whomever has that question or others like it to attend council meetings.
Unless there are any ongoing costs involved that would make it necessary to retain that deposit and use it for our cash flow, then that's not a bad idea to actually return deposits for people who have paid in good faith. So if we're not using the money for something else, give it back.
I wish Franklin had finished his research. He was telling me today that when he looked at the ordinances, if you own the house, you don't have to put down a deposit. Do you still stand by that, Franklin? So, the old set of rules. So maybe there's a new one that they need it. But if they don't need it, yeah, I'd like it back. All of us would. I don't think that's unreasonable, but you got to be prepared that if you don't pay on time, there's penalties and there's cutback on fees, all these things. And it gets difficult. There's probably more money than most of us can imagine owed off water bills, back taxes, and sometimes these keep people honest because they can go into it to pay, but the thought of getting it back if we've paid in good faith, that sounds good to me.
I'm not sure. I've been living in a house for almost 40 years, and I'm not sure I have a water deposit put on down there. And I'm not real sure how that works. It would be reasonable. It would be very complicated to write because a lot of people just, well, they die. They do whatever they do, and you're stuck with the water bill that they haven't paid in 6 months. So you keep the deposit for that reason. We would have to look into that and come up with an answer. That's not something I would recommend. Keeping their money.
A part of my 8 years at the city was in the water department, and the water deposit, or your water bill, if you were to look at the bill that you are going to receive maybe around November the 5th, is for water that you used from the middle of September to the middle of October. So if you let us know that you are going to terminate your water, you owe us about a month and a half in arrears, and that is why that stays on deposit. It could be that you owe us even more money and that you've moved to your new house in Dunwoody and the city calls you up and says, well, your final water bill was $150 and your deposit was $100, you still owe us $50. Rather than saying, you owe us $150, and then you might say, well, come and get it. So it's on there for a reason. It is because the city bills in arrears, so that money is not cut off when you leave.
With this $100 deposit, I've actually talked to some people about this, and it is my belief that you should get that $100 back. If you are paying in good faith, you should get that $100 back. And it shouldn't just be for people that own their own home. It should be for renters, too. Once again, renters are good people. I've rented for many years when I was in college, and I've always paid my water bill. And it is your money, and you need to have it back. And we just need to have an ordinance change just to do that.
Since most of what we do with our water bill is concerned in Atlanta, because that's where we get all of our water from, until Diane said that, I didn't know about the deposit. I can assure you that it being a month and a half in arrears, if you don't owe money when you leave, then getting your money back is something that we ought to look into. If you owe the city money, then the deposit could go toward that.
Next question. I'd like to know where the money came from to fund the train depot courtyard. Could that money have been put towards other projects? An example, fixing the sidewalks on Central Avenue. Start with Scott.
I'm pretty sure that came from HAT funds. Lou can correct me on that if I'm wrong. And if that was the case, then there are very specific things that can be done for it. The money can be used for. It's the favorite word, earmark. But definitely, if it isn't tied up, then our sidewalks, our accessibility, especially our handicapped access, needs to be improved. It's abysmal.
I know that many of the grants are earmarked, and so there may not be a choice. And I've even teased about what we're doing forever over there in front of the depot, but it is going to be quite a showpiece when we have the theater there and people come in at night. I'm hoping the lighting is just beautiful, and I think that people are going to come into town and realize that they didn't know what Hapeville was. May not be completely answering the question, but you got a lot of good people here to say the rest of the stuff. But I think the project that is taking place is going to be beautiful, and we're going to be proud of it, and it's going to be a focal point from the post office and that good restaurant, and then you got the train depot. There's a couple more restaurants, and then the theater. The theater's going to bring people in here that have never been to Hapeville, and we really want to dazzle them so they'll not only spend money here, but move here. Thank you.
You're right. The money to do the park and the depot renovation was mostly HAT money. We have some money tied up into it, and it has not all been spent yet. But HAT money is restricted to things that references trade or tourism. You can do some sidewalks, like sidewalks along a school or something like that, or around a park, but to run the sidewalks down Central Avenue there, you can't use the HAT money for that. But that is another project. That's the railroad corridor money. That $2.9 million I was talking about a while ago, that's what will put those sidewalks in. That's what will clean up the whole east end of the city along the railroad track is going to be cleaned up with this railroad corridor money, and it's going to look really nice.
Well, we want it to look pretty for Porsche. I don't know where the money came from. I'm assuming that it was HAT money and probably grant money. I think I am a life member of the Hapeville Historical Society, and there are a lot of people, mostly Charlotte Rents, who that depot and that museum is her baby, and she has worked tirelessly for it. I think that there is a lot of work that needs to be done on Central Avenue as far as sidewalks and just beautification to enable those people who are coming to the cafe and to the theater and everything in downtown Hapeville. We want it to be nice for them. So I think in this case, this HAT money, Hapeville Association of Tourism and Trade, is for the promotion of tourism and trade. I'd say well spent.
With this depot being redone, it was my belief that it was done through DOT, and a board member actually gave that to us. And I know Charlotte had a big push into that. Thank you, Charlotte, for doing that for us. It's going to be amazing. And I know that there are some concerns with how long it's taking and the amount of money that's being put into it, but that is not our money. And we have very specific things that we have to do to get this money and to make sure that we get all this grant money, and we got to follow their rules.
Well, the depot is in the middle of downtown. It is going to be a showpiece for our city. HAT money, and let me explain what HAT is, because I think there's some people that don't understand. The Hapeville Association of Tourism and Trade, every time somebody goes into a hotel in the city limits of Hapeville, they pay a 7% tax that goes to HAT. Now, HAT has to give the state 3% of that, but we get to keep 4% of that, and we have to spend it on projects within our city that will increase tourism and trade for our city. So we come up with, I think last year we came up with around $900,000 that we got in through HAT, and a lot of that is going to matches on the streetscape projects. The federal government will give us X amount of dollars, but we have to come up with a little bit of money to match so that we can do these projects. And the streetscape on Central Avenue is coming up.
Well, Jimmy answered the question of where is the money coming from, and so it being HAP money, I think, is reassuring to a lot of people. I, for one, am very excited about the depot project. I do enjoy walking downtown and walking throughout the city, and to see so many exciting things coming up, I just am very thrilled that my daughter is going to grow up in a place where we are beautifying this city. I personally would like to take it more into the neighborhoods as well once we finish the downtown area, but I'm excited to see the completion, and I think that it will definitely bring more people into the city, especially hopefully our nightlife, will get a little stronger as well when that's completed.
Next question. Are you active in the neighborhood associations? If so, when and whose meeting was the last one you attended? We will start with Michael.
I gotta say, I'm guilty as charged. I've been to my little Halloween party and signed up, but I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm not blaming them. Do I think they're valuable? Yes. Do I sit at home and watch TV instead of going? No, I do a lot of things, but I'm not going to claim something I've done, nor did I really, maybe it's stupid on my part, but I just like to live with a little bit of integrity. I'm going to start running to every one of them because I'm running for council. But I obviously think that as an elected official, I'd like to, but I don't know. I didn't want to just run to the Exchange Club and run over to everybody's church and go, I just happened to be visiting. I got a card for you, too. I just can't live like that. I put my heart into this town. This is where I live. This is where I work. I think it's vastly important, and I have not attended any that I've been invited to, which is none so far. Okay, thank you.
I'm a member of the Northwoods Neighborhood Association. I attend pretty regular. This past couple months, I haven't been able to get there because we had a forum on one night, then we had a meeting, and just things do come up. You can't make all of them. The Coville Park Neighborhood Association meets on the same night that I have a Sunday school class that I attend pretty regular, and they have a business meeting on that same night that they have. So I've been over there, but not recently. And some of the others. I don't get back to them because they don't meet on a schedule that just gets to where I can get to them. But they are important. I know the Northwoods Neighborhood Association, we have emails that go out, tell you about things that's happening in the city. I think I had about 4 of them today. So, but they are worthwhile. They're very important to the city of Hapeville.
Yes, our neighborhood associations are the backbone of the citizen involvement part of our city. I'm also a member of Northwoods, and last Thursday was their meeting, and I was over at the rec doing a little candidates forum. The month before that, I was there, and I also have not been as active as I would like to be. And if elected, I will make a huge effort to try and attend at least once a quarter all of the neighborhood associations if they do have meetings that regularly. I think it's important that that we stay in touch as elected officials, and I would like to be on the email list, of course, of every neighborhood association. And I think they do a lot of good work for our city, and I'm proud that our city has so many that are so active.
So when I moved here, I wanted to get involved in the city, and the way I did it was I became the vice president of the Azalea Park Association. So I'm very involved with Terry as the president. I do go to the association meetings. I think they're very important. This is the place where you guys get together and you talk about issues, concerns, and great things about the city. This is the grassroots effort that we need to get started. We need to come to you guys as association members and get that grassroots effort going so we can show what Hapeville is really about.
Well, since I was elected, I have attended every neighborhood association meeting that I've been invited to, which has been 2. The neighborhood association where I live happens to meet on a night that the Sons of the American Legion meet. I've been a member of that organization for 16 years. I am the junior vice and the chaplain this year. I do, however, get the email after every meeting and keep abreast of the minutes of the Hapeville Park Association, and I think they're doing a wonderful job.
I am not involved in a neighborhood association. I kind of feel like my house is in the middle of one. I kind of don't know if I should go to Northwoods or go to Moreland Park. I'm not quite sure. But I think they are just a fabulous opportunity for all the citizens in Hapeville. I think that, you know, everyone can't come to a council meeting. You don't have the time. But if one person from your association can make a council meeting, then they can disseminate information from that council meeting, and it just keeps people involved. It's also so great to know your neighbors, and I think that's a great opportunity to get to know your neighbors as well. I would like to say thank you to Hapeville Park. I absolutely love what you guys have done in that park. I've rented the Scout Hut too many times already, and I love the new swing set that's there, and there's a baby swing, which is exciting for me, so Lily can swing now. But I think the neighborhood associations are fabulous, and maybe I'll find out where I fit soon.
Our neighborhood associations are lightning rods for volunteerism. Many of the really good things that we can do in our city, the city doesn't pay for. It's the neighborhood associations, the community organizations, the civic organizations. Some good ideas, some good things that are being done and are going to be done. Work at the community garden, you've seen that. We need to have things like historic district plaques for homes, little free libraries, more wayfinding signs for neighborhood parks, maybe a dog park. You know, reinstitute the Yard of the Month Award. I love everything that neighborhood associations are doing in Hapeville, but I'm not an accountant either, and I'm glad that the people who are involved take the time and bring their talents to it. And I'll be happy to attend any meetings that I'm asked to. Thanks.
Next question. Regarding the theater project coming to downtown, what are the costs to the city, and what revenue will the city receive in rental income? Lou.
The cost, we are talking about a good bit of money. We're talking about $600,000-$700,000 by the time we get the outside of it, where the 99-seat theater is going to be. The city owns it. We're going to continue to own it. What we've done is we haven't hired them. We've acquired a management company, which is the Academy Theater, to run it for the city. They will be there for, I think it's 3 years, rent-free. The halo effect of the theater is where we plan to make our money. The businesses that will build up around it, and the people that will go to the wine shops, whatever they are, that's where you'll make your money, and the increase in the value of the property in the surrounding area. Plus the fact that it's going to look a whole lot better than it does.
600 or 700,000, and we don't get anything. I was certainly not in the council, or there obviously was a lot of information that went into it, and we do need a management company, I think, to properly use this great investment that we have. I really don't have any other comment. That just seems like a bad equation.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of money. But when you really think about it, when you walk downtown on Saturday night, it's going to be packed. There's going to be people walking around. There's going to be people at Volare. There'll be people at Drip. If you walk down there right now, I'll guarantee there's hardly anybody walking around downtown. That is what we need. We need to bring people from other areas and show them what Hapeville has. We got to change that perception that Hapeville is in the middle of nowhere, that Hapeville is full of crime. people have no idea that this place even exists. So having the Alliance Theater here is an amazing thing. And they're going to bring people in. They're going to have people walking around downtown. And it's going to be amazing.
Well, the city was lucky enough to be able to buy the two buildings in the heart of our downtown. When they came up, we went through the banks when they were being foreclosed on. We got a great deal on them. We were going to have to renovate these buildings to make them viable for any kind of activity. So the amount of money that's being spent on it, yes, there's a lot of money going into it, but a lot of that money was going into that building no matter what came into it. Now, the fact that we got the Academy Theater to come into this city is going to be a phenomenal boost for our city. They're going to attract, this is a theater group that's been around for 56 years. You know how often theater groups go out of business? This is a proven commodity that is just going to be a lightning rod of activity for our downtown area, and I believe that any money that we invest in it is going to be well spent.
Well, as far as how much money went into it, obviously I wasn't aware of that. But Jimmy's saying that we were going to have to do something with that property anyways makes sense to me. You know, we have so many empty storefronts, and how much better is it going to look when it is redeveloped? And the fact that this is an existing business coming into the city, I think is very important. We know that they know how to run a business. Hopefully it will last, and hopefully once this 3 years is up, we will start to make money off of them. But I do think we will make money in other ways as far as our downtown restaurants that are going to be open. And I sure hope that it encourages others to open a restaurant or something similar in the area. I think that having something this exciting and different, there's not one in College Park, there's not one in East Point. Hopefully it will bring our close neighbors over to Hapeville, and they can see what they're missing out on.
Across the United States, various communities have recognized that the arts can be a very powerful economic development tool. It's a good investment. When galleries, studios, theaters, and art centers form a critical mass in a community, the result is an area that becomes a strong draw for the general public. Typically, these arts-centered communities then draw restaurants and boutiques in a second wave of development. When located in a large metropolitan area, arts-related activities often become a magnet for the creative class of workers, and then creative firms such as graphic design, web design, advertising, and architecture begin to settle in the area. We've invested a whole lot more in Hapeville for a whole lot less potential return. This is a good one.
In the 1940s, after World War II, we gave the Ford plant 10 years of no taxes. And I'm sure there were people at the time that thought, 10 years? But I think it paid off. We're sad that they're gone, and I'm glad Porsche's coming in their place. But I don't think that many people are going to drive to Hapeville just to ride in front of Porsche's headquarters and then go back home. It's a beautiful front door. It's going to be a blessing to us to have it. But the theater is actually a destination location. People will come to Hapeville that have never been to Hapeville, and they're going to see things that they are very surprised by as they pass the original Chick-fil-A location on the way, and then they see what's being done at the depot, as well as the lighting. And this theater is a destination that's going to draw people here. I think it'll change our economy in many ways, not just money spent, but in people moving here because they're going to find out how good it is. Thank you.
Next question. We hear a lot about the arts becoming a part of the community. However, what other programs in this city do you feel should be developed and supported to benefit the citizens of Hapeville?
And don't get me wrong, I love the fact that the Academy Theater is going to be headquartered here. It's just the math that I was not too happy with. What else we have in this wonderful city is an active recreation department for all ages, for children with aftercare, for kids in baseball, and for some of us seniors. There are monthly activities and events. We also in Hapeville have the great benefit of having the Fulton County Senior Center with us. And for those of us of a certain age, it is an incredible facility. And I think that those sorts of things make a well-rounded city, as well as the arts involvement and our neighborhood involvements. I think there are things that can be furthered with perhaps the help of an economic development director, like maybe a grocery store would help us out.
You know, this community is great. I'm so glad that I moved here. One of the big things that brought me here were the neighborhood parks, parks that I can walk to. Where I grew up, to go to a park, I had to drive 15 minutes just to get to the park. Here, I lived right down the street from Cofield Park. That is amazing, and that's what we need to let people know, that the parks here are amazing. They have swing sets. You know, we even had a person in the community that asked a question about a vacant lot, and council was more than welcome to let them put a trail in so their kids can play around the trail and they can walk around it. That's a great use of our land. We also need to talk about bringing Porsche in and letting them know that we're here, and just making sure that we attract the people that are working at Porsche so they can come here, they can eat here, they can spend their tax dollars here.
We get more bang out of the buck out of our recreation department than any other dollar we spend in this city. We have programs for every age group. We have something going on every season for every age group. The Academy Theater, part of the lease agreement we have with them is that they're going to be teaching classes to our school children. They're also going to have classes for seniors. And citizens will either get a discount or there'll be some free classes. They have a senior troupe that does performances based on the classes they take. We have so many things within this city that, like Carol said, the senior center is one thing that Fulton County sponsors, but we have the accessibility of it here. If you just take advantage of each and every opportunity you have to participate in something that the city provides, you can stay busy every day.
I agree with what everyone said so far. The recreation center, I know there's a new, this convention center now. Is it incredible? It's incredible how much they offer. If you look at the back of your newsletter, you'll just see so many opportunities for you, for grandchildren, for children. There's something for everyone to do. And if you go by the football field or the baseball field, you know, it's keeping the kids busy. It's keeping them excited. They're learning discipline. They're learning sports. So it's great for the children as well. The senior center, I think, is one of the greatest things that's come into the city. Mommy Mo can attest to that. It's such a neat place to go, and I feel like continuing to support the arts, continuing to support the parks. I've said numerous times, I love walking around the city. You know, it is stroller friendly in certain places, but we're going to work on that in others. But being able to take Lily, I've got a choice of 4 or 5 different parks that I can walk to within a few minutes.
Okay. Having Hapeville become known as an arts destination would be a key improvement. However, there are many other things that we can improve. We can improve our commercial corridors, for one, as we all know that. We can improve accessibility in Hapeville, not only with the parking lots. We need more parking, perhaps at North Fulton, perhaps on the rear of Dearborn Drive. We need more accessibility as far as the handicapped access points on these sidewalks. As far as business goes in Hapeville, we need to improve some things there. We need to market the city better to prospective businesses. We could do better work with a business recruitment website. We could do better with distribution of a quarterly newsletter, for instance. periodically updating the Doing Business in Hapeville brochures, facade grants, and business isn't even all. There's education. We can create a magnet arts school here in Hapeville, perhaps an arts-related charter school. In the neighborhoods, wonderful things like the Paint the Town program, pocket parks, all these good things, dog parks, promoting Hapeville, like getting our own zip code. All these things and much more are what we need to do and we can do.
Nobody says cat park.
Walk your cat.
One thing I was thinking about is if you're looking for solutions, if families want to move here, what are they looking for? Could education be one of them? I think that the schools we have do their best, but I sent mine to Landmark and then to Woodward and then up to Riverwood, which is a Fulton County school, and it was incredible. It had the International Baccalaureate program, and she did well enough to graduate at Georgia Tech, so I guess she learned something. But it would have been great if she could have had Miss Wells and Mr. Thompson and all the great teachers I had in high school. But I think our schools need attention. So I think that we need to have a solution-minded focus group and determine what can we do to support the schools we have. Maybe it's the recreation center teaching English to kids so they have a better start in first grade and don't hold back to school. Just solution-minded.
We're talking new programs that would benefit our citizens, and while Todd and his staff over there at the rec center, they do a great job. They teach belly dancing, exercise programs, all that kind of good stuff. A few bike trails around the city would probably be nice, and that is on the drawing board. That's another thing. It's a matter of money. But I kind of agree with Mike in a little bit different vein. We need some education around here, but more education for adults. I'd like to see one of these buildings like that old hotel over there on the Expressway that could be converted into say satellite rooms for Georgia Tech, for SCAD, for other places, where citizens or anybody from lives any place could come. And maybe if they want to be an author, maybe they want to improve their cooking skills, learn to weld, whatever it is. I think education for people that learn skills would be important.
Well, I'm going to allude to my official timekeeper. Scott, what is the official time that you have? I've got 9 o'clock. I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance tonight. We do have a lot of questions that we haven't gotten to, but we knew that when we went in. I'd certainly like to thank and wish well all of our candidates as you leave here tonight. And I would encourage everybody to, if you're so inclined, check around and see which one of your neighborhood associations you do belong to. There's somebody here that can kind of help you along that way. But this is with the expertise and the courtesy of the Village Church, and I can't thank Reverend Waters and his staff enough. There was just no doubt when we requested this, he was more than anxious to help us out. He's a very community-oriented individual, as is the Village Church. At this time, YouTube, with the video going on tonight, keep your eye on YouTube. We will have this. That's why they were all very, very diligent with their questions and answers. So with having said that, I wish you well. Thanks for coming.